Yo, what's going on YouTube? Dylan's back with another update on the Drift Trike. Today I'm going to be working on it. Before I can get the throttle cable, I'm going to make sure I can get this chain tensioner engine mount figured out basically. So right now I can't adjust the chain at all because I have these bearings. That was the adjustment, which was a terrible idea. I don't suggest anyone ever use bearings for chain adjustment. It's just way too complicated. There's too much play front and back. There's too many variables. The axle can be tilted. So your best bet's just to get the axle straight and just mount them solid. Don't worry about adjusting them. What you should do is get some nice thick steel like this and make an engine mount, or just buy one off of Go Power Sports, or try to find one for cheap on eBay or something. I don't know. So basically, yeah, we're just gonna take the motor out. I'm probably gonna have to take the axle out, which sucks because I just Loctited everything in, so they're gonna be a beach to get off. So I definitely need to do something though, because this chain is getting looser and looser the more I ride it. I've only rode it probably a total of like 10 minutes though, so it was kind of loose, but now it's a lot looser, so I'm gonna have to do something about that before my throttle cable comes, so that way I just know the chain won't be rattling away and just waiting to fall off. So I'm gonna make my engine mount. Pretty much just gonna take the motor out and weld it in onto those two bars that I have the motor mounted on right now, and notch out slots in here, drill 2 holes, cut it out with the cut-off wheel or whatever, and then figure out exactly where this is and try to mount the plate relatively as close as I can. And then, well, I guess I should mount the plate first, then I'll put the engine on, drill my holes, or mark my holes, take the plate out, drill it, and then I'll slot it, so that way I can get decent front and back. And then, I don't know, I'll probably either just weld this to those bars, or I'll just bolt it down. I don't know yet, we'll see. I don't know what would work best. I'm sure I could bolt it, but I really don't want to drill any more holes, and it wouldn't take much weld, just a couple tacks on each side. I'm going to be doing today, hopefully it goes back together smooth. I'd show you guys what I'm doing, but there really isn't much point. I'm just taking the motor out and cutting the plate up. It's pretty simple, putting it back together. I guess if I run into any issues, I'll update you guys, but for now that's what I'm going to be doing today, and I'll catch you guys back in a little bit when I got this thing tore apart at least and get the end. So here it is, all stripped down again. Wasn't too hard, honestly. Hardest part was on the axle. I had the washers and I had to bang them off and grind the axle smooth again so I could get it out of the carriers. But other than that, I mean, everything came out pretty smooth. Wasn't really anything too rough so far, but now I just have to figure out what I'm going to do for the engine mount here, because I'm probably still going to cut it down kind of like that, and then that'll just sit right here. But I gotta figure out what to do with these cross members now, because if I want slots in the plate for the engine to move through, because the bolts are going to be fastened into one spot on the engine and you're going to want that to slot. I wish it was the other way around, where the engine had slots, but that's probably not the most structural way of mounting an engine, so they do it this way. So I'm going to have to either chop them and then put like bars going up here coming off of this, and it's just going to go straight up along the side of here, and then along the side there, maybe put something in the middle. I'm not exactly sure yet. While I'm in here, I'm also going to clean up these welds. That one's not too bad, but I might clean it up too. And by clean up, I mean put more weld in, because I definitely didn't have enough penetration on it. And now that I see it, I'm going to have to do it. Otherwise, it'll probably end up breaking. And then over here, you can see daylight through this little hole. So that's definitely not the most structural. So we're going to patch that up, then try to figure out the best way to mount this engine mount. But so far so good. Let's hope it keeps that way. Coming back in for an update. We got the engine mount cross member modified, so that way it can fit the engine mount, so my engine can bolt in about this area, and I have all that room for adjustability. So basically all I did was I had the bars going here and here, and then this was in the middle. I just chopped them pretty much right on the side where I had the engine mounts, so that way I knew I had enough left and right clearance. And then I flipped it, lined it up against that, and it was like super close. I probably could have made it fit perfect if I would have thought of it ahead of time, but I kind of just chopped them off and turned it a little bit. I'm like, oh well, that'll actually line up pretty decent. So that's what we did. We just turned it, chopped these up a little bit so it fits better, and then just adjusted it. Well, pounded these off because they weren't welded too good, which now I see it, I can still see daylight through this weld, but honestly it's got a lot more penetration. I think it should be fine, because before they weren't that good of welds, but I turned her up pretty good on this one. So I still have to cut out the engine plate and then figure out how I'm gonna attach it. Probably just gonna weld it, to be honest. Quickest and easiest, instead of having to figure out like bolts for in here or something, which I probably could do that. I don't know if I went this way with it totally, but I'm probably gonna end up going this way. I mean, I just have to, I don't know. Either way, because it's pretty much gonna be a square. It's gonna sit like right in there, just like that. That's pretty much lined up. And then just have my engine holes wherever they need to be, slot them out, and I can start putting everything back together. Well, actually cleaning everything up, including all this rusty pipe and all the rusty angle iron. Still not sure if I'm going to take the paint off of that, but probably should just do it now and get it over with, because in the end it's just not going to look the best. As much as I want to keep it, just because it's that Walmart bike build, it gives you that like a little bit of nostalgia with it too, because like a lot of kids had those Next bike Chaoses. That was like their first BMX bike, so I wanted to kind of keep that, but it is what it is. I mean, if anything, I can always just find the same color and kind of like copy it, but I really don't think I'll ever find a color that quite that green, because that's not even like the original green. That's like super faded, but it looks really cool when it fades. So that's why I like these bikes, because you can see that's the green it's supposed to be, and then that's the green it fades to. So it's a lot more teal, less slime green. But I don't know what I'm doing for paint yet. Probably just gonna black it out. Couple different things here. We can do some plasti dip, or probably white it out. That'd make it look pretty clean, but it would attract a lot of dirt. Every little fucking spot of dirt would show on it, so I don't know yet. We'll think about it. I'll at least do the back half black, like the frame and the stool frame. Pretty much, well, the whole thing's a frame now, so it's all one piece. So this whole back half here, we'll just make that black. And then this stem, I don't know, we might make it a different color. I haven't decided yet. But for now, this is pretty much what I got done. Got the cross member made, and now I'm just gonna chop up the motor mount and figure out which way I want to orient that, and if I'm gonna bolt it or if I'm gonna weld it. So I'll catch back up to you guys once I'm done with that. It's pretty much done now. I'm just gonna scuff it all up and get it ready for paint. Try to get as much of this rust off as I can. Motor mount, pretty solid. It's definitely not going anywhere. It's all one piece now. Now I have it joined up there, and then it's joined underneath of here. Bada boom, bada bang. I still gotta notch this little piece out just to make more clearance for the chain. I'm probably just gonna slice it, pound it down so there's a little bit of a guide for the chain, I guess you could say. Doesn't really guide it much. It's more or less just another piece of metal for it to wear through in case it gets loose, but hopefully with this amount of adjustment it shouldn't do that. We gotta put the motor on yet and make sure we got enough adjustment out of it, otherwise I'll have to drill these out a little bit more. Didn't get them like perfectly straight, but I did the best I can with a drill press that can't hold this sheet of metal down the whole way, so I had to just hold it. And I just drilled like 3 holes each one, and then took the cutoff wheel and sliced it in the middle, and then just took the Dremel and filed it out. Now they're nice clean slots. Should be able to get enough adjustment, but we'll see. We will see. And then as long as I don't have to max it out the whole way forward, we should be good. As long as there's still some room to go forward for when the chain does get a little bit looser. We got the frame done, and we got her all nice and painted up, looking spiffy. Nice bright white, a little bit of clear in it. Definitely pops a lot more than I was expecting it would too, but that's pretty much what I was going for. So, not upset about it one bit. Looks fucking sick. I guess I'll go back to where I was originally going to start this off, but then I decided to dismantle it again and paint it and put a motor mount on and yada yada yada. But yeah, as you can see, we have modified the frame quite a bit here. So we got this angle iron that was just a strip, went pretty much the whole way out here. Cut a nice triangle out of it to whatever angle I needed it to be to get it to close in to come straight there. I forget what it was, but then got them bent in, and there's another piece that's flipped upside down here that there's a tab that goes, can't really see right now, but there's a tab that goes underneath, and then that's welded on to the bottom, and then it gets welded onto the side here, then that gets tied into the top, which that should help the I don't know how to describe this, but basically you can't really bend it one way or the other already as is. Like before I welded it, I just had it sitting on there and it was already pretty strong, so it should be very structural. And even though the welds look horrendous, don't hate too much, because it's like my first time fully welding something. First time I tried to do a decent job at it, and I mean, it didn't turn out terrible. I just definitely needed to add a little bit more heat in some places and clean my metal up. Like underneath, I don't even want to show you guys the underneath because it's just gonna look terrible. But that's the underneath. You'll never see that, so I'm not too worried about it. There's just ladybugs all over it. They must really like this fresh paint. They must. They're all over it. Sorry, my file was damaged or something, so I had to wait for my file to repair. But so we got this giant mess here that we're gonna have to clean up. This is pretty much all the trike parts and some tools that I was using. I know it looks like a lot, but it should throw together pretty easily. This is the only other thing. I gotta wait to paint my caliper. That's still just primed. I'm waiting to get some red paint. Probably should have did that today, but wasn't thinking about it. Too worried about other stuff. So, yep, gonna start piecing it together. I'll probably make a little video of it for you. So, stay tuned and you'll get to watch me put at least the rear half together, and then I'll stop once my other stuff's done, and then bring them down and start putting them together. Then we'll have one full trike by the end of the night. Hell yeah, guys. guys, here's my little update. Pause the time lapse for a little bit, and this is what we got so far. Got the axle in. Found out I screwed up twice now. So first time, well, I guess that wasn't really the first time, but one thing I did over here was I was putting the nut on, and it was just being a pain in the ass. Like, it threaded on fine at first, and I started putting the impact to it. So I think I might have marled up a little bit of the end of it when I was trying to bang my axle through, but I don't know, it threaded on pretty smooth, so I just cranked her on, and now it's just not tightening anymore, and it's still spinning, so I'm assuming it's just stripped the fuck out now. So we're just gonna leave that one there. I mean, there's a little bit of wiggle, but I can just move my lock collar in, at least hopefully. I should be able to get an Allen wrench in there, a normal one, not T-handle, but normal Allen wrench will fit in that. But yeah, that's the first thing that kind of upset me. And then I went to put my motor in, and I remembered, oh, I guess I should have put the chain on the sprocket and then took it off the clutch, so I just had the chain on the sprockets, and then I could just slide the chain over the clutch. But nope, I forgot and left the chain on the clutch and put the sprocket on the axle. So now I'm gonna have to take the chain breaker to the chain and pop a link out, because I never got a master link for it. Well, I got one, I just never put it in yet. So I guess it's a good time to put that master link in. Now that I got the motor mount, it shouldn't really affect too much. I should be able to pull enough of that slop out. There's still a good bit of room, but it sucks. I'm gonna have to break my chain. I probably wouldn't have had to if I would have just put the chain on the sprocket in the first place, but it is what it is, I guess. But now motor's sitting in there, didn't put any bolts through it yet. Got my wheels on, axles in, pretty much all the rears set up except for my brake. Still gotta get the brake painted, and then I can put that back on. I don't know if I'm gonna paint my brake lever. This thing, I mean, it's got a coating on it, but it'll probably still rust eventually. I don't know, it'll probably look pretty decent if I painted it black or something, get a little bit more black into it. But right now it's looking pretty good, isn't it? So we're gonna get that chain off, I guess, and try to get that back on, put the bolts in the motor, line that up, try to get my chain nice and tight. That's what we're doing. I'll switch it back over to the time lapse, and we'll keep at it. See you guys in the next update. update. I finally cooled down a little bit after getting frustrated with trying to get my motor mounted and dealing with the chain and everything else, because it was just, everything didn't want to go back together. So I'll just put it that way. And once it cooled down, I got my motor mounted and got all my stuff on the axle straightened out. Even got yeah, I got everything on the axle straightened out, tightened everything down, doesn't wiggle or rattle anymore. Chain's nice and tight, no play in it, just a little bit. Had to put a new boot on the spark plug because that one was too big. So I just put a small one on there and now she's bent. Got my caliper painted up and the springs for the seat. I didn't know what else to paint, so I figured just do the springs. It's the only other little thing I could think of. Everything else pretty much part of the engine, and only other thing could be the wheels, but I don't really want to do red wheels on the white trike. No, you wouldn't want to do that. That would look ugly. Now I'm just debating, do I paint the front wheel or do I just leave it how it is? Because it's a nice black and white patina from someone painting it at one point. I'm assuming they painted it white because most of them are usually black. But yeah, forks and handlebars dried. They look pretty nice. Nice and glossy. Just giving me some old BMX vibes. So now I'm just gonna wait for paint to dry some more and then get the brakes hooked up again. And then get my seat on. And after that, it's pretty much just ready to go. Should be solid. Can't wait. Till then, I'll catch you guys later.